Among the many questions swirling around the deadly shooting, where do Alec Baldwin, the production company, and the studio stand legally? Joining me now is Mercedes Colwin, Fox News legal analyst. Mercedes, thank you for being here. And we still don't know all of the facts, but from a legal standpoint, where do you see this headed from both a criminal standpoint and civil?
Well, there's definitely criminal charges that could be, at least at a minimal, investigated. Number one is involuntary manslaughter. And it's not really going to be Alec Baldwin, because in New Mexico, there's what's called excusable homicide. And under excusable homicide, essentially, if there's an accidental killing of an individual, but ordinary care was used by the individual who's being accused of that, they're excused of the homicide. The focus may very well be the prop manager. What did he do in terms of he or she do prior to handing the gun to Mr. Baldwin? Did he exercise the sufficient care? Because under the involuntary manslaughter charges in New Mexico, you have to show reckless disregard for someone's rights who ultimately result in the individual's death. So all of that has to be investigated, but that's just on the criminal side. Then you have the civil side. Already it's being reported that it seemed like the set was not being done in a way, exercising the appropriate amount of caution to ensure the safety of the individuals that are participating in the movie. That really rings very clear that there could be a civil responsibility, a case that will come out of it, a wrongful death case. But here's the rub. If everyone is employed by the studio, let's say it could be a workers' comp claim. But if Mr. Baldwin is, obviously he's an independent contractor, he could be sued individually. The prop manager, unless the prop manager is actually an employee of the studio, then of course that would be swept under workers' compensation. But there very well likely be some sort of civil action that comes out of it, because at the end of the day, this was a horrible tragedy and someone died. Miss Hutchins died. She was a mother. She was young. She's only in her early 40s. There will be so many years that obviously her family, not only the fact that a child lost her mother, but of course the husband as well. So there could very well be a civil action and multiple parties that would be attached to it as well.
Well, and then we also have this report from the Los Angeles Times that Matt Finn was reporting on in part. It has some pretty damning information in there, including that 6 camera crew workers walked off the job due to safety concerns. And there's this, quote, Baldwin's stunt double accidentally fired 2 rounds Saturday after being told that the gun was cold. A colleague was so alarmed by the prop gun misfires that he sent a text message to the unit production manager. We've now had 3 accidental discharges. This is super unsafe, according to a copy of the message reviewed by the Times. So, Mercedes, where does a text like that take things?
Well, that's going to be in the civil action. I mean, certainly they're going to look at that and say, you knew or should have known that this was a dangerous prop. There had already been misfires, presumably with either that similar gun that was used here or other guns that were available to the actors and crew. There was obviously a very big problem with the safety of those guns, and yet nothing was done. And nothing was done to secure the safety of those individuals. So that is clear evidence that a plaintiff's lawyer can use on behalf of Ms. Hutchins' family when they sue, presumably there will be some lawsuit that comes out of this. They will use that to say, you knew that there was dangerous set. There's danger in the guns itself, and nothing was done to secure those guns to ensure that nothing could happen. And unfortunately, now this is the result of it.
And when we're talking about an accident or possible negligence, and you have Alec Baldwin here, who's not only an actor on the set, but also a producer, and then we have the studio and the production company. I mean, does Alec Baldwin, is he like more vulnerable legally if he's a producer as opposed to an actor?
Well, it could be. I mean, it really depends on there's so many contracts that are involved in the making of a movie. So there's multiple layers, there's multiple contracts, multiple parties, multiple entities. If anybody that employed Ms. Hutchins will probably fall into that workers' comp bucket that I talked about earlier. Okay. But anyone outside of that could very well be directly placed in that caption as a direct defendant by Ms. Hutchins' family when presumably they will sue. So it really will depend on what with respect to the contract. And presumably, if Alec Baldwin is actually a producer, he may very well be the person who contracted all of the individuals there, including Ms. Hutchins or the prop managers. But a lot of focus is going to be on this prop manager, what was done prior to handing the gun to Mr. Baldwin, and what safety procedures and precautions were taken on the set. And you're exactly right, Alicia. There was so much evidence that a lot of safety really was at risk. And those safety precautions, if there's any evidence of a deviation of standard of care, that's clear and convincing evidence that there's negligence afoot.
Just really feel for this family that has lost a wife and mother. Mercedes Colwin, thank you
Terrible.
so much.
My pleasure.